Hello, I'm Gaby Mendes.
And I'm Felix Kabutey Jr. You are now listening to the Talk Twenties podcast.
This podcast is your ultimate guide to adult life, where we discuss, with the help of our amazing guests, all the things that we were never taught in school.
Adult life can be really isolating as everyone's got their own thing going on. But remember, you're never alone. There are over 7 million of us 20-somethings all trying to figure it out. Let's unpack a new topic in today's episode. Hello and welcome to another brand new episode of the Talk Twenties podcast. If you've not already, make sure you follow and subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode of us in the studio.
Yes, today we're joined in the studio by Lowther. You may have seen her on TikTok. She went pretty viral during the pandemic, from working in Tesco to then finding her dream career on the West End. If you've seen her singing 9 to 5, then you probably know who I'm talking about. So hello, Hannah. Welcome to the studio. We're so excited to have you on Talk 20s podcast. This is your first ever podcast appearance as well, isn't it?
This is my first ever podcast. I'm so excited.
Oh, I think for me, this is like, I followed you since like the beginning on TikTok. Like when I first ventured onto TikTok, you were literally one of the first people I saw, and I was like, I just love what this girl is about. And I think everything you've done is so positive. Like, just to put some numbers into perspective though, it's crazy the growth that you've had. Over 750k followers on TikTok and 30 million likes on the app. That is absolutely insane.
I know, those numbers like don't compute properly in my brain when I think about how many people it is. And I remember when I first hit like 10k on TikTok, and I remember going to my manager at Tesco and be like, look, and she was like, okay, you can carry on doing it then. Yeah. And like, if only I knew that then that it was gonna like have grown to this scale. But yeah, I'm just so grateful for the platform that I've got, and it has changed my life. And I never thought maybe 2 years ago, or pandemic, when was that, 2020, that an app was going to change my life so much. So yeah, it's just crazy.
Well, we'll definitely get into it throughout the whole episode and talk about your career and everything through the questions we've got for you. But the first thing we really wanted to understand is you're 25 now. So how was that initial step into adult life for you? And at what point did you really start feeling like, wow, I'm an adult?
I think once I'd graduated from college, so I did, obviously we'll talk about it, but I did drama school, had a year out, and then did another year of drama school. Oh my gosh, I should have done my vocal warm-up, seriously. I'm coughing all over the place. So I think once I'd graduated a second time, I all of a sudden was like, right, I need to try and work, but also juggle auditions at the same time. And that's when I feel like adulting really hit, because I was like, I'm working out my schedule. Luckily, I was still living at home, and I'm really grateful that my mum was like, "Okay, can you start paying me rent now?" Because otherwise, I wouldn't have learned like any responsibility, I guess, in terms of like paying bills and paying rent and stuff. And I think that's when it first hit, and then we were thrown into a pandemic, and you kind of had to just take it all in your hands and just be like, right, what can I do with this? Yeah. So
how long after graduating did the pandemic hit? Like how long was that?
Well, I graduated in the summer 2019.
Okay, so
yeah. Went on holiday, had a great old time. Went to China on holiday.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And then did Panto that Christmas. And then kind of, I was working part-time in a wedding venue, in a bar fitness studio, like on reception, folding towels. And then started auditioning again in January, and then pandemic happened in like March. So yeah, I was lucky I was living at home at the time, because I think I'd have found it really hard if I was already like had that independence. But I moved out in September of 2020 with my boyfriend, and that's a whole other level of adulting. Yeah. And co-living, cohabiting, is that the word that people use? Cohabiting. Yeah. I've just realised I've got a hairband on my wrist.
Oh,
rookie mistake.
Oh no, is that illegal in West End territory?
It's okay. How embarrassing. I'm just going to ping that over there.
I love that though, because that shows literally how like ready for the stage or the camera, like you're like, okay, like I know how to do this properly, and not all our guests do. Like, so yeah, we love that.
I can get over it for the first part of the podcast. But I feel like on my wedding day, when the day comes, that I'm going to probably have a hairband on my wrist.
Yeah.
But here we go.
That's like an essential, right?
Essential, always.
So yeah, you've obviously been on an amazing journey. And as Gaby mentioned, like you're well known on TikTok as the Tesco TikToker. So essentially going from working/dancing at Tesco to now performing in the West End. Like, how did those early years prepare you for such a big glow up?
I think just the passion that I have for performing is what fueled me to even start doing it at Tesco. And that stems from me doing dance classes when I was younger. And at the time, it was just loads of kids do dance classes. It was a hobby. And I was very lucky that, I was able to go to these classes and I was dancing and everything. And also my mum, she's not she's stagey, but she's not like a musical theatre performer. She likes a bit of a sing-song to ABBA in the car, but like she's not, and so she loves theatre and everything like that. And I think her being passionate about it as well really helped me to discover it. And you hear all this stuff about, like dance moms, where all the mums are like pushy parents, but it was never like that. It was just, my mum saw that I had a passion for something, and really helped me to kind of discover that further. And I guess that led on to my mum actually contacted a casting director, like a children's casting director at the time, and said, "Oh, can my daughter audition?" I'd done some like amateur shows and stuff in Basingstoke, and she was like, "Can my daughter audition for The Sound of Music?" Because it was going, it was on in the West End. So by like luck, this lady replied and was like, "Yeah, sure."
Oh wow, that's
and
amazing.
I could have been like, "The son of God."
And what age was this then?
That was age maybe 9.
Wow.
So I went.
What Von Trapp would you have been?
Well, maybe I was a bit older. I'm sure I was 9. I was in for Brigitte, with the plaits. I feel like she shaped me as a person, Brigitte. But I remember auditioned for it the first time, and Mum was like, "Right, we're just trialing out this like whole audition thing. Like it doesn't, it doesn't. If I get too like emotionally attached to it or anything like that, like we don't need to carry it on." Like it was very much in my hands, and I was in it for it the first time, and I got to the very finals, and they're lining us up like as the children, and like they took me out of the line and put someone else in, and they were like, "Great, thanks, you can all go." And I was like, "No."
No.
And I remember being like, "No, I loved that whole process. Like, I love it. I want to do it. So I'm not going to cry." And I remember coming out and being like, I'm fine.
That takes
because I wanted to go in for it again. Like I wanted to keep going. And I went up for it again the next year, and I actually got it.
That's amazing.
So I guess that was my like West End debut when I was like 10, in The Sound of Music.
Yeah, I was about to say like you must have been so talented at a young age, but it sounds like you were resilient as well to kind of not get picked and then go next year.
It's weird when you're younger because you don't really think you're doing anything. I mean, at the times, most kids nowadays have like an iPad and TikTok and everything.
Yeah.
But like at the time, I didn't really know that I was doing anything spectacular or even really had that much skill in that subject. I was just kind of doing it because I loved it. And I think when I was younger anyway, like I didn't feel that comparison to other people. We were all just doing it. And I think that's where it really like begun for me. And just was super like resilient with it, and I had the best time doing that show, honestly. And I remember looking at like the adult cast members and just being like, they do this as a job. This is their actual job. And everyone was like, yeah. And I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, we did get paid as kids, but it wasn't much. But like it wasn't a job, I was still going to school and stuff. But I think that was a moment where I was like, okay, I didn't realise that was an actual career, because you don't like, I even think nowadays people don't really realise that it's a career and it's a job. I think because so many people do it as a hobby. Yeah. I still get comments on my TikTok, people saying, "Just wondering, do you get paid for Panto?" Because I've just done a Panto contract. And I was like, that's my job. Yeah. So you pay to watch the show and I get paid to do the show. Yeah. But I guess that's a whole other conversation about creative subjects and not fully being looked into at school.
Were you always really creative at school? Like, was that always your main focus? Like,
I was quite academic as well, but I'd never once considered doing that as a job. Like, I was very much, I'm just doing it because I need to get my GCSEs or my SATs or whatever. My SATs.
No one's ever brought up SATs on the podcast before.
My year 6 SATs. Got great grades actually. No, I'm joking. No, and so I was quite academic, you know. But I think I'm not actually academic minded. Like, ask any of my friends, I've got no common sense. But I think because like a lot of it at school is just like a memory test, and it's just about like reading a book and being like, right, what can I remember? And like if I can remember a dance routine, I can remember a maths equation or whatever like that. And I wasn't really learning, you know, obviously you learn stuff at school, but like I felt like I wasn't properly learning and like enriching, is that the right word? In a subject. I was just going through the motions of it. And there's that whole conversation now with people wanting to do maths for so long, and I'm just, it's like, are people actually learning this, or are they just doing it to like tick a box when actually their, you know, like their skills could be so much better elsewhere, and they could really like thrive in something else, if that makes sense. I don't want to get political, but
this is the platform for it.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Like I think if we're going into discussion on like, you know, Rishi Sunak announcing that everyone should be doing maths until 18, I completely disagree with that.
Yeah.
But some form of financial education would be helpful for everybody.
I didn't have any financial education, and that's where I need it. Like, I'm self-employed, I've got to do my tax returns and stuff like that. And like, I didn't learn anything like that at school. And that's actually...
Got an accountant coming up on the podcast very soon.
Okay,
FYI,
I'll tune in.
You can tune into that episode,
But yeah, you're right. Like, actual skills at school and like honing in on people's actual like creativity and passions and stuff. I think that's so important. And like, I was lucky with, you know, my family life and being in a school. Actually, my school did dance, drama and music. So I was really lucky. So I was able to do some of those subjects for GCSE. But again, like even GCSE drama was just like writing an essay and ticking a box and stuff. And actually like you learn the most like when you're actually like doing it and you're having experience and you're performing and being put in different situations. So yeah, sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there.
No, I love it. So when it comes to the pandemic then,
yes,
everyone goes into lockdown and you find yourself landing on a little app called TikTok.
Yeah.
What drew you to start posting on that platform, and what was your kind of thought process when you first started out?
Well, I downloaded it when lockdown first started, like basically like everyone did. And I wasn't posting. I was literally just like scrolling,
just consuming all
like
content.
watching all like people do like the Renegade or whatever it is. I don't know, like seeing all these like famous American TikTokers, and I was like, oh, cool. But actually, my sister like was really into TikTok because she did like Musically and stuff like that. So she like loved it, and I remember being like, that's so cringe, like seriously. And actually, before pandemic, I used to teach at a Saturday school, Italia Conti Newbury, and all the kids, we'd be in a tap class and they'd be like, Hannah, can we do a TikTok dance? I'd be like, no, guys, that is so embarrassing. Like, what even is this TikTok thing? And a month later, I'm like, hey, follow me. But yeah, so I downloaded it and just didn't post. You know, I was just consuming, and then got the job at Tesco. And then after being there for a little while, I mean, that was just at the time a part-time, what's it called? Like emergency job. I don't know how to explain it. Like a part-time, like COVID temp.
So it was COVID had hit, and that's when you started at Tesco.
COVID hit, and they were looking for temp.
Like key workers?
Kind of thing. And my mum was friends with the manager at this store, and she was like, we're desperately looking for staff because loads of people were off with COVID and stuff. And my mum was like, oh, Hannah will do it. So I went in for an interview and then started the shift that day because they were that desperate for like staff. And I remember just being like, how does this work? Okay. Probably gave many discounts, I don't know. And yeah, I worked there for a little while, but it was hard for everyone, obviously, in the pandemic. And for me, I feel like I get a lot of my energy from people who surround me and my friends, and being in a creative environment and stuff like that. And I found it quite draining going from, you know, working part-time and then going to an audition and then watching a show in the evening and being around stagey friends. And I was just missing that like part of my life. So that's when I thought, I remember I used to always say stuff in store. We had this kitchen towel called Regina, you know, like Regina kitchen towel. And I remember being like, my name is Regina George, which is from Mean Girls the Musical. And my co-workers would be like, what the heck is this girl doing? Like, is she okay? Like, and I was like, no, it's from Mean Girls. Okay, don't worry. And I was like, someone needs to appreciate this. So that's when I started making the videos, and people did appreciate them. And I was like, right, I'm not going to let this be a one-hit wonder. I'm just going to latch onto it and just carry on creating. And I found this whole new like community of theatre people and people who had the same interests as me on TikTok. And that was like in the times of like Ratatouille, the musical, do you remember? And they did like a Bridgerton musical. Because there's been that whole,
So was it ever a strategic move for you to like go onto TikTok?
No, never. I mean, I grew up watching like YouTubers and stuff like that. So I'm like a Zoella OG subscriber, but I never once... And I used to like film little, hey guys, so here's the nail varnishes I bought today. Like you know, you did as a kid, like on your Mac in the camera, and it's like so blurry, but you're just loving life. Or doing fake little makeup tutorials. Like, hi, now I take my clear mascara and put it on. So I used to do that, but like I never really posted it or thought it would be anything. And I think when I first started TikTok, it wasn't used as a platform for brands or for... you know, brands didn't have accounts on TikTok. It was all just kids and individual accounts. So, yeah, I'd never thought of it as like, oh, I can make money out of this or I can make this a job. I was just doing it because I was bored, basically, and just wanted something to do. And it in such... Oh, sorry. In such a hard, you know, year, it allowed me to actually enjoy going into work because... I mean, I made it look fun, but working like 7 till 4, I think it was, like every day at Tesco isn't the most fun thing, especially in a pandemic when tensions are high, toilet rolls are low, like there's not much going on. I found it, you know, I would be excited to go into work because I was like, oh, I've got this really fun video to film, and I would actually go in early and film them before the store opened. So I'd get to work at like 6 a.m, film my videos and then start my shift at 7, which I've never actually said out loud because... Exclusive, you heard it here first, Talk Twenties. Because people, like, I think that's why it was popular on TikTok, because people was like, oh my God, I can't believe she's doing this. What if there's customers and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, haha, oh yeah, what if there is? Knowing full well that... there was no customers. But you got to fake it till you make it a little bit. So yeah, that's... Yeah. I can't remember what the question was, but there's your answer.
Time for us to quickly tell you about our sponsors, Zopa Bank Smart Saver accounts. Here at Talk Twenties, we love the Smart Saver accounts and we all use them in different ways. A Smart Saver account lets you save in different pots for your different needs, and you choose the amount of interest each pot gets in return for a longer notice period to access that money.
Yeah, our creative producer, Georgia, uses her Smart Saver to make her paycheck last longer. As many 20-somethings can relate to, Georgia sometimes finds herself living like a queen the first day after payday and then a pauper the week before payday. But she started transferring half her paycheck to the Zopa Smart Saver Access Anytime pot and then taking it out when she needs it later in the month. Georgia knows that she can get hold of her money anytime she needs it with no fees or penalties as many times she needs to in a month. And whilst the money is in her Zopa Smart Saver, it's earning interest too, which is an added bonus of taking out of her current account. The separation has made her money go further, which is something we all need to do right now.
If you're interested in learning more about the Smart Saver, just download the Zopa app. We do need to tell you that boosted pots are subject to a notice period, the longest of which is 95 days for the highest interest rate. You need to save a minimum of £1 and the interest is paid monthly and is subject to variation. It made me laugh when you said that because for me, if you go for a job interview and you get the job like the same day or you start the day after, it's always a red flag to me. But I think it's like you said, it's a testament to like the time that was in. It was a really difficult time and they just needed people to work. But what I really liked about what you said is, you know, you kind of didn't lose yourself when you was working there, and you still had that element of you while she was there and doing what you enjoyed. Yeah. Which kind of brings me to my next question. Obviously, you're around 22, 23 at that time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you feel any pressure from anyone in your early 20s around that time, whether it's like family? I know your mum's really supportive, obviously taking you to your very first audition, or drama school friends who you maybe have got their big break, but at that time you were working in Tesco.
Yeah, I did find that hard. I think at the pandemic, I mean, we weren't all in the same boat. Like we were all in the same sea, but we were all in, everyone was in different boats. But I found it quite hard, leaving drama school and seeing friends and stuff do well. And, you get so torn because you're so happy for them and you're like, I'm so glad that this is your dream and stuff like that. But you can't help but compare and be like, well, why haven't I got that? Or why aren't I doing that? And I think what I learned when I started drama school the second time is that comparison kills joy. And it, even in any sense, if I'm happy for you for getting something and that's joy, and then all of a sudden I compare myself and then that kills off that joy. Or even being happy for yourself about something and then, I just think that, it was really hard, and there is that pressure to, have a good agent and be going to auditions and stuff like that. And especially in the musical theatre world, I mean, I try to stay away from that side of it, but it can be quite, not catty, like that's not the right word for it, but you know what it's like in a normal job interview, you don't meet the other candidates. Well, I don't know much about normal job, but like I would think so that
Did you meet another candidate at Tesco? No, because
they
didn't have any.
Because they didn't have any. They were like, help. And I was like, okay, I can fold bags. You wouldn't normally like meet the other interviewees or whatever. Whereas in an audition, you're all stood there in your leotards and your heels and you're looking around and being like, oh, can she kick her leg higher than mine? Or, can she sing higher than me? And I think that's where you have to just be so in your own zone and so just like comfortable with yourself to be like, do you know what? I am what I am. I can do what I can do and I'm just going to go. And if they don't want that, that's okay. But yeah, it's always going to be hard when you really want something, especially because in the industry that I'm in, I know people say this a lot, but we really wouldn't do it unless we loved it because it is, it can be so tough. And because people are so passionate about it, that's why, it feels so devastating when you don't get something or,
I think musical theatre and acting and all that, it really is like the extreme of like what a lot of our guests sit here and tell us about, where it's like, in your 20s, you really do start comparing yourself to others and like, what if they can kick their leg higher? Like there's an analogy for that in every single job that you kind of go into. But like, this is probably the most extreme version of that. Like it's taken that, but to like the nth degree. So like for people who are listening to this, who maybe have like different kind of careers, for you then, how do you get your head around how you don't compare yourself and you can walk into a room and go, yeah, maybe I'm right for this, maybe I'm not, but like it's not the end of the world. Like how do you get into that mindset? Because I think that's helpful no matter what career you have.
Yeah, 100%.
To really kind of tap into that. Any like words of wisdom or advice?
I think it all stems from just like being kind to yourself, and just knowing that you are. I mean, I don't think there's any like tricks. I don't have any particular tricks to be like, yeah, do this and that will help you. But just being kind to yourself and knowing that you can only be who you are. There's no point, trying to be another person or trying to do stuff that you're not capable of doing at that moment, because when you're in that interview or you're in that job or in a certain situation, the most unique thing that you can bring to the table is yourself. Because chances are, if you can, I'm trying to think of something that isn't stagey. If you can kick your leg up to your shoulder, chances are there'll be 10 other people in this audition that can do that as well. So what makes you different from those people? And the only thing really that makes you different is you, is yourself, is your personal attributes, like your personality, your willingness to learn and stuff like that. And I think, although especially in theatre, like physical abilities and stuff is really important, like there's so many other things that are important too. So don't sweat about the things that you can't control in that moment, and just try your best.
Wise words.
Very wise words. I mean, you made a great statement there. And if there's anything you guys take away from this episode, please take away, be kind to yourself. I think that really, really just summarizes it so perfectly. And do you sometimes find it difficult to be kind to yourself, especially in the social media space as well?
100%. Like, I don't like, I say all these things, but actually I'll probably go home and be like, oh, I've got a big spot there on my face. Like, oh, I hate that. But I think, no, I'm not always kind to myself. And that is something I'm working on, like making sure I find time for myself. And, you know, I don't really know how to explain it. Like, I don't always, especially with social media and, you know, this world of Love Island, like we were talking about, it's that like ideal, perfect life or body or skin or anything, you know, that we compare ourselves to. But like, who said that that is perfect? Who said that that's what everyone should attain to be like? And at the end of the day, it's normally the media that tells us that that's what we should be like, and, you know, how we should act. And even it gets toxic when you think about it too much, because even things you think, all right, I won't think about how I look or anything like that, and I'll just work on my personality and stuff. Or not work on my personality, but you know, just focus on who I am as a person. And then you go on TikTok and you film yourself do something silly, or who you are as a person, and then that gets ripped to shreds as well. And that's where it can get really toxic, because you're like, well, if I don't have this idea of perfect, and then I also can't have this and be accepted for this part of me, then like, what am I doing? But actually, it's not about other people's opinions on you, really. And I'm saying all this, but I don't practice what I preach. I definitely have days where I'm like, everyone finds me annoying, and I can't like deal with that negativity sometimes. But it's definitely like again, something I'm working on, being kind to yourself and just like accepting that not everyone's gonna like you for you. And also, social media it's not real. It's not real. So most of the stuff you see is heavily edited, is, you know, which, you know what, like if that's what people want to do to make themselves feel better, then that's fine. But that comes from their own insecurities as well, I think. So I think we all just need to like look at other people and be like, do you know what, like, fair enough, you're you, and you might not be happy with certain parts about you as well, but I'm just gonna be me, the GC.
Yeah. That's great. That's great advice. I mean, I think that's great advice for people who, you know, also struggle dealing with the negative sides of social media, but do want to kind of build a platform and put themselves out there. You know what I'm saying? I think coming from you, someone with 750,000 people like watching your stuff, I think that's valuable advice they can kind of take away to kind of
I think also it's very easy to focus on the negatives. So I'll post a video and say I get 100 comments on that video. I'll scroll past all the ones that say, OMG, love your content first, and like second and stuff like that. And people like actually like being excited and like loving you just for posting yourself online. And I'll scroll right to the one that is someone being nasty, and that will stick in my mind all day. And I just think like, what you know, what's the point in doing that? I don't know, but I still do it.
You've been doing it for like 2 years now. So is there anything that's different from Hannah that's 2 years ago that was on the platform? And of course, you've got a bigger platform as well. But is there kind of some tricks of the trade that you've gone, I need to not think about this? Like, how do I
I used to screenshot every bad comment I got.
Joking?
Yeah.
Oh, why?
Wow.
Because it was self-sabotage. I used to screenshot every bad comment I got, and I would like just sometimes like, read through them. Because I know, I'm crazy.
I do the exact opposite. I have a thing in my phone called the hype files, and whenever someone says something nice about the podcast, it screenshots and it goes in the hype files, and I read it when I feel sad to feel better.
Yeah.
Why are you doing the opposite?
I don't know. I mean, I don't do it anymore. That's what I think. That's where I've kind of grown in that aspect.
Yes.
But I used to do that because when I first started posting, I was thinking, well, I didn't ask for people being nasty, and like I didn't really understand why people would do that to like ruin my day, or I don't know, people were just horrible. And like I remember, and sometimes I would screenshot them so I could send them to my friends and be like, haha, lol.
Yeah.
But actually that did come from a place of like self-sabotage of me wanting to be like, I don't know why I did it, but I don't do it anymore, so that's a plus.
We love growth.
Actually,
we love growth.
We love to grow. I did once make a video that was like making up a dance using all my hate comments.
Oh, so it was useful
So
for
it
content.
was useful at one point. But I've still got all these screenshots as well. I should go and delete them all, probably. I feel like I'd feel much freer if I didn't.
Do you do the opposite then? Have you got like a, you
No.
know, you should.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Because I feel like
New
that
Year's
would be like
resolution.
something you can look through, that when you do get all those hateful comments and be like, no, these are my favourite comments of all time that
Yeah.
someone have said about me.
And
like,
I think
or
also
DMs and stuff.
Yeah, sometimes I do like, and I love it, and like it sometimes feels so overwhelming though that so many people. I know this sounds so like, oh, I've got a problem because so many people like me, but do you know what I mean? Sometimes it does feel like overwhelming when so many people are being so lovely to you, and it's like I can't reply to each and every one of them, and it's weird to me sometimes that these people know me so well, because I'm like, you know me so well, you know what I had for breakfast, but I don't know any of these people really.
Yeah.
So when I think about it too much, it gets a bit overwhelming, and I'm like, I need to be able to stay present in my real life,
Of course.
rather than like get stuck into like reading comments and getting involved with that. But then also the people that are commenting and supporting are the reason that I have that platform. So there has to be like a level of balance between like real life and social media life, and which can sometimes be tricky. But yeah, working on that as well. Working on a lot of
How
things.
do you like merge that two together and how to have that work-life balance?
I'm still learning how to do that, to be honest, because until quite recently, I just used social media as like, I just consumed it. Like I watched other people, until a few years ago anyway, I just watched other people's content, and it was like, I'd post my holiday pictures, and it was just like a fun, I'd go on social media at the end of the day for fun. Whereas now I wake up and I go on social media straight away, and it's like, as soon as I click on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, that's work.
Yeah.
And it's like finding, even if I'm not doing like a paid partnership or filming an ad or something, like even just going on Instagram and I don't know.
It feels like work.
It feels like work.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So sometimes it's hard to like, you know, find that balance. I think making sure, I mean, I don't do this. I need to do it. This is inspiring me to actually like do all the stuff I'm talking
You
about.
got so much great advice that you don't take
Yeah,
yourself.
I don't take my own advice. Oh God, how embarrassing. No, but I think I need to not go on my phone first thing in the morning, because I wake up and I'm like straight on it, like checking
I'm
my
guilty of that
notifications.
too. So bad.
And like just before bed
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I actually do think having the dog, so I've got a puppy called Ruben. He's so cute, Kabutey. And I think having him has made me a bit more present in terms of like, I have to get up in the morning and get out and take him to go party. And it has made me a bit more like present, but then still my boyfriend always takes the mick out of me. Like I'll get my phone, he'll be doing something cute and I'll be like, 1 second, hold it there. Like take a video of him doing it. I'm like, that's just life now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's just about finding a way that it makes it work for you. 'Cause
Exactly.
it's not, I think a lot of people will live their life like that as well. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether you've got a huge platform or small platform. Even like we feel like we go on social media and it feels sometimes like work a lot of the time, and we're not always on it for fun, or rarely on it for fun. Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot of people will be able to relate to what you're saying, and it's about how we get that into our lives in a healthy way, because it's not going anywhere, is it? So
I mean, even the other day, like when I was saying about social media isn't real, the other day I was featured in a magazine, and it was really exciting for me. And I posted like a story being like, oh my gosh, guys. And then I posted a reel about it. And then on my close friends straight after, I was like crying because we'd applied for like a new flat and we didn't get it. And like, I'm a very emotional person. So I was like crying on my close friend's story, like talking to my mates or whatever. And it's like, if only people could see the
close friend story.
story. I mean, I'm not inclined to like share that all the time.
No, exactly,
but like it's that like balance of having to be so like especially because that's all I'm about. You know, I'm very much about like being bright and bubbly and having fun and you know and all of that. So when I'm being like normal Hannah. Not that I'm not normal Hannah when I'm on socials. I don't know. It's like a caricature sometimes version of myself that when I'm feeling a bit down in the dumps, you have to kind of be like, hey guys, which can be a bit draining. So yeah, I think it's just trying to be like, I try and be as real as possible, but also I can't be sharing everything, you know?
What is something that's maybe surprised you about the career that you've had so far?
Musical theatre wise, or
It could be anything.
I think like the first thing that surprised me was even getting a job in musical theatre, because, you know, I spent so much of my childhood and my life like absolutely like wanting to do that and being so passionate about that when it actually happened, like I can't explain the feeling. Like it was just like a weight lifted off my shoulders, that like everything I'd worked for actually, you know, had worked in a way. So that was like a huge shock for me. And so many people were like, do you think TikTok helped you get Heathers?
Do you think TikTok helped you get Heathers?
Yes. I feel like I can say like happily that, yeah, it did. And it's not like the producers saw one of my videos and were like, yeah, we want her. Like it didn't work like that.
Yeah.
But having the platform allowed me to have opportunities that I wouldn't have had. You know, the story is that I went to an event at the Theatre Cafe, which I was invited to because it was like a reopening event, and they had invited like people in the industry. And like a year ago, I wasn't anyone in the industry. I mean, that's horrible to say, but like I wasn't. Nobody knew who I was. I'd just graduated. So even to be invited to this event, and at the event, I met somebody who was friends with the producer of Heathers, who when they decided they wanted to put on the show again and they needed to cast it, said, oh, have you heard of this person? And so I only met that person through the event that I got invited to.
We
through
talk
TikTok.
about networking all the time on Talk 20s.
So it is about
how
networking.
important it is.
Yeah,
like,
and making actual connections with people.
Yeah. That's so valuable. We talk about that all the time, and how that is like one of the key things that you can do to level up your life in your 20s. If you start broadening your network, and that might be through posting on social media and communicating, people might be going to events and stuff. Of course, you had to get that invite to get there, but you have to know these people because it opens more doors for you. Like, that's one of our biggest like core values.
I think for me, like at drama school, I was always nervous in terms of networking, because you never want to be like, oh, I need to meet that person because they might get me this job, or like, and it's hard to try and work out how to approach it sometimes. And I would just say like making actual connections with people and chatting with people, not with the intention of them, you know, helping your life or helping your career, but just, you know, actually just trying to connect with people that are in your world.
It has to be genuine.
It has to be genuine, yeah. And I think with social media, a lot, you know, even friends, people who have seen what I've managed to do with my content and with Heathers, and then, you know, musical theatre, they're like, well, how can I do that? And who can I go and meet? And then it's like, it doesn't always work like that. You know, it's about like being super open and putting yourself out there. And I heard this quote, I can't remember who said it. I feel like I can't remember who said it, but I'm going to steal it. Copyright. They said, don't be afraid to be a squeaky wheel. Because, have you never heard it?
No.
Okay, I'm going to explain it. So it's like, this is probably really rubbish. So imagine you've got a car. All 4 of the wheels probably need oil, but the one that's squeaking is the one that you oil. So if you're not the squeaky wheel, you're like, hey, I need oil too, but you're not squeaking, so no one's going to give you any oil. So don't be afraid to be a squeaky wheel. Like, you've got to squeak to get some oil, and then the car can run. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense to me.
that.
I've never
I don't
heard
think
that.
I explained it very well.
No, I think you explained it
But
really well,
like,
because
be a
it's
squeaky wheel.
Yeah, it's similar to closed mouths don't get fed.
Exactly.
I think that's a more common one. Closed mouths.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
heard
that-
either of these
Really?
sayings,
Closed
but they're
mouths
great.
don't get fed. Yeah.
But that's
So like, if you're sat there going, sorry, I don't need to explain it. Like, you get it. I'm trying to act it out for you. I was like, right. So if you've got a car and you've got 4 wheels, no. But yeah, that's like, don't be afraid to be a squeaky wheel and put yourself out there. Like, what's the worst that can happen? They'll be like, no thanks, or maybe next time. But even them seeing your face or knowing your name and that coming up in conversation is something that can help you down the line. So it's not always about, I want to meet that person and buy them a drink in case they can get me a job. It's just being on their radar.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Yeah. So yeah, genuine connections took you to heavens, and I'm sure it'll take you far beyond as well. But when your passion becomes your job, how do you maintain that enjoyment?
Ooh, it's as musical theatre wise.
Yeah. What you doing?
I don't know. I feel like I've never lost passion for it. Like I've never lost enjoyment for it. But there's definitely days where, you know, like any job, you're like, oh, CBA to go in today. Or you're on, like I just did Panto and we did 12 shows a week. And in like a normal show, you do 8 shows a week. So it was a lot. And so, and you know, by the end of the run, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so much. But I think like, because we do get to work so closely with, if I was doing a one-woman show, I'd probably be like, help, get me out of here. But like, because we're working so closely with other people, again, it's like getting that energy off of other people, so that even, you know, if I did turn up and I was having a bit of a bad day, I was quite ill over the Panto, so there were some days where I'd go in and I would actually just be in warm-up like a zombie, and other people help lift you up. So that's definitely, you know, definitely something that's helped me keep enjoyment, and also just continuing to learn all the time. And I think with theatre, it's so easy to look at people who have jobs and say, oh, you know, they're smashing it. So many people say, you're smashing it right now. Yeah. And I'm like, that's really sweet, but also it might look like that, but you don't know really what's going on about in my whole life. But anyway, that's a different subject. It's so easy to look at like, you know, established theatre performers and be like, wow, like perfection, or, you know, they're smashing it. Why do I keep saying smashing it? But actually, everyone has something to learn, and they're probably still going to classes and still like continuing to like keep the enjoyment and keep it alive. And I think like learning is key to like keep that enjoyment going, because there's so much you can do with it, like so many new skills, and like even just performing. Like I got my set of skills, but if one day I decide I want to learn how to do like aerial hoop or something, which is part of performing and is in quite a lot of musicals, they do hoop. Like I could be like, do you know what, that's a new skill that I want to add, a new string I want to add to my bow.
100%. I think that's really good advice. Of course, you speak from a musical theatre perspective, but for anyone, like just be teachable, be eager to learn, and hopefully that passion will lead to more and more enjoyment.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things we love talking about on the podcast is that what you just mentioned there, like people might be appearing to be smashing it on the outside, but quite often there's a few questionable moments going on behind the scenes, and we like to call them like our adulting failures, like the things that we've done that have been a little bit of like a mess up, you know, to prove that not everything is hunky-dory all the time. Is there anything that springs to mind? I know you texted your mum about this actually, didn't you? Mum, what adulting failures have I had?
Yeah, well, my mum obviously came out with the classics, like, do you remember when you and my boyfriend, Nuno, do you remember when you and Nuno crashed into each other on the driveway of our house?
2 cars?
2 cars.
Wow.
We crashed on the driveway.
Both at the wheel?
No, so I was in my car and he was in his car. And he reversed because he was trying to move it, and he obviously forgot his car had mirrors or something. He wasn't looking. But then I also moved forwards. I never admit to that, and I just have on the podcast. But I also, I also moved forwards a little bit, but not much, because I thought, oh, he'll be looking in his mirrors, like he'll see that I'm moving.
Does his insurance know?
And he didn't look. So he literally just reversed into my car, and straight away he was like, don't tell your mum, because we were on my mum's driveway, and I was like, I have to.
Wait, I have to ask, you saw him reversing and you decided to move your car forward?
No, I was already moving forwards like this, and he was coming around this way, like reversing round, I don't know. He wasn't looking, but then I shouldn't have done that either. So that was what my mum reminded me of. I feel like the biggest adulting fail for me was actually pandemic happens, and this is before Tesco, so there was like 2 weeks where I was like, right, what am I going to do for work? Like, you know, when you sit on the sofa for a week and you're like, okay, I need to do something now, like I'm getting bored. For me, that's normally a day, and then I'm like, okay, get me out of here. I was like, right, musical theatre career, all the theatres have closed, it's never going to happen. I genuinely was like, really? I'm never going to make it in musical theatre. And I wasn't saying that to be self-deprecating. I was saying that because I was like, realistically, I'm not going to. When the theatres reopen again, they'll rehire all the people that have just lost their jobs, the people who are already really established, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, right, I'm going to be a personal trainer. I don't go to the gym. So I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. But my thought process was like, right, I'm going to get a personal training qualification. I'm going to be able to like teach fitness dance classes. So I'm already a qualified dance teacher, but I was like, I need to be able to teach like fitness classes for it to be a bit more like legit. So I signed up for a personal training course online, and all these online courses were like perfect pandemics. Like, let's get all these people and let's take their money. So I paid £800 for an online course and I didn't complete one module. And then,
wow.
I know. And then it only lasted for 2 years. You had to complete it in 2 years. So like a year and a half, I called them like, hi. So this is like, I was in Heather's. I was like, I'd started TikTok. I was like, I'm never going to complete this personal training qualification. I still didn't go to the gym. I didn't even own a membership. So like, what made me think that I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a PT? So I called them up and I was like, hi, so I've just, I signed up for your personal training for qualification like a little while ago. I'm just wondering like if I can cancel that or like get any money back or anything. And she was like, yeah, according to our files, you actually signed up for the course a year and 7 months ago and haven't completed a single module, and we can't give you any money back. I was like, oh, cool, like not even like half? And she was like, no.
You didn't have to put all that extra detail. She could have just said no refund. She wanted you to know like...
you have actually signed up a year and 7 months ago. I was like, oh, really? Time flies. Time flies when you're working at Tesco. So I never got my money back. So it's £800 down the drain.
Wow.
But
mourning the loss.
I've had the story to tell.
Yeah.
The money's already spent, so I'm just like, whatever. I'm a very impulsive person like that. But if it's something that I think is going to like better myself or better my situation, I'm like, okay, go, do it. Like if I've got the funds like ready, I'll be like, okay, yeah, do it. And then actually I think about it, I'm like, should I have done that? Probably not. But it's happened.
Can relate for sure.
Well, Hannah, it's been absolutely amazing speaking to you, hearing about your vibrant life. But we know not everyone is perfect. Everyone is going through something. Is there anything that's holding you back at all that you're currently trying to improve on?
I really struggle with motivation sometimes, which I feel like, again, on the topic of smashing it, people being like, you're smashing it. And actually, I really struggle like day to day to get the motivation to like, even when I'm, if I've not got something to do, like to come here today or to go and do rehearsals for a show, even just getting out my pajamas, I'm like, I don't want to do that. And so sometimes that's what I'm struggling with at the moment, actually being like, I know I've got all these ideas for content. I've got all these ideas for like potential projects and for learning new things and trying new things, but actually getting the motivation to get together and actually do it, get my together and actually do it it's hard. So that's something that I'm working on.
I think it's hard to take an idea to like actually take it into action.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of people will relate to that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's hard. You're sat there thinking, oh, I've got this great idea, but actually
it's
gonna
big.
be it's gonna be a lot.
It's gonna be a lot of work.
And
I don't shy away from work. Like I enjoy being busy and working hard, but it's like putting the time in beforehand to like make sure it all fits into place. I find quite hard. So I think it's definitely for me like working on, utilizing the people I have around me and the friends and family who also are like passionate about things that I can like lean on to help with stuff like that, and then vice versa, to just try and better, like not just myself, but like also try and help other people as well in a way. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you, Hannah. It's been so lovely to have you in the studio here. I've loved hearing everything about your career and all your 20s and what you've been through. I know it's been one of my favourite episodes today because you were one of the guests that I put on my dream guest list. You were, because I've been following you for so long on TikTok.
Oh my God.
And I've not mentioned it much in the podcast, but like I am a massive musical theatre like fan. Like I wanted to do it at one
so
point in my
stagey.
life. Definitely was Nancy and Oliver in my school play.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
Well, school play, but yeah, like I love it. So for me, it's like a real like pleasure to meet you. And I think you are smashing it. Not that you don't need to hear that another time, but you are. You're doing really well. And despite all the things, I think this whole podcast is about, you know, everyone in their 20s is trying to work through something and through their goals, but we always never feel like we're doing enough. We always feel like we can do more. And we hear that from every single guest. So like, yeah, everyone's probably in the same boat with that. But we always end the podcast with one simple question. And if it's, you could look back at 20-year-old Hannah, which she was in drama school.
She was in drama school.
What would you say to 20-year-old Hannah in drama school?
I would say, don't sweat the small stuff. Follow your dreams. I feel like I need to say one more thing to like finish it off. And moisturize.
Thank you so much, Hannah. It's been so lovely
Thanks for having me. I've had so much fun. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. A big thank you to you, yes you, for tuning into this episode of the Talk Twenties podcast.
We hope it inspired you in some way and popped a little pep in your step for this week.
Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend. It means a lot to us to have your support.
We also love hearing your stories and suggestions. You can reach out to us on all socials by searching at Talk Twenties.
Lastly, before we go, our website, talk20s.com, is the hub for all things 20-somethings. Go check out, my people.
Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.